Okay, hello, my friends. My name is Gerdes. I'm just a professor trying to provide you with some context in the war in Ukraine. Here are three big stories, three big buckets of stories, rather. And I know that the title art, the cover art here is a little strange. It just is. It really is. And I'll get to that at the very end. Okay, so the first big story is Russia's in no hurry to actually come to any kind of agreement. We know that Lavrov just dismissed the Vatican as a possible venue for Russia-Ukraine peace talks. I mean, he was already hinting at it, but then yesterday he came to that conclusion. That was just subsumed by all the bombing that was going on last night, all the drones and missiles. So we didn't actually get to that last night. Now, there's also, as I understand, 100 plus Ukrainian drones in the air on its way to Russia tonight. This would be the sixth straight day in a row. So okay, and here's more evidence that Russia's not interested. Medvedev just published a buffer zone map of all of Ukraine if provision of military aid to Ukraine continued. Is this the peace plan that Russia prepared to show the United States? Okay, if Russia was serious about this peace plan, this kind of thing, what you would have seen is something pretty different. You would have seen that these four oblasts were a buffer zone, but those four oblasts are not a buffer zone. Those are part of Russia, and this would also probably become part of Russia in that scenario. Now, Medvedev has also had other weird maps over time. This was a couple of years ago where he showed this map where there was only this like little tiny piece of around Kyiv left, and the rest of it was subsumed by Russia. Okay. So they don't really want it. Even Darth Putin, the humorist, was putting out, "Watching you do nothing, even though I no longer make nuclear bluffs, makes me wonder why I took your leaders seriously enough to bother making them at all in the first place." That's a really good question. Like, why did he even have to go that far? Because leaders in the West just have not been serious about doing something. Now, Robin Brooks put this out. He monitors a lot of economic kind of things, particularly oil and gas. If the EU wants to be taken seriously, it has to hurt Russia in a material way. Well, Gary Kasparov said the biggest if of the Russian war on Ukraine is, and has always been, if Europe and the rest of the free world have the will to defend themselves, their interests, and their values. Ukraine does, but again, it's a question of if. This afternoon, I put this out. 7 signs of the Russian economic meltdown, 7 red flags that no one can ignore. Yeah, it's bad. And it's going to be getting worse over time. But Putin's banking on that he can sustain longer than the West is going to be involved. But it's getting bad. And I show you all the signs. Okay. Meanwhile, Lithuanian member of parliament, let me try with this name because I've been to Lithuania a few times. Loranas Kasikunis. Okay. They say this AS at the end of many of their names. They wanted to call me Darrenus instead of Darren. I hope I got that right. If you're a Lithuanian, tell me in the comments if I pronounced Loranas Kasikunis correctly. I've never heard the name before. I'm just trying to pronounce it from my experience there. Russian aggression won't be stopped by condemnation. It must be stopped by force. That's right, exactly. He urges Europe to act without waiting for the U.S. Arm Ukraine, boost military production, replace words with action. This is the only right response we've seen today from Ukraine's allies. That's right. That's it. Now, there's more to it. The Europeans are stepping up in some way. Like they put out their 17th aid package just the other day. Now they're putting out their 18th, or they're working on their 18th. Zelensky put this out. Today, several sanctions packages were introduced. The first targets Russian individuals involved in financing Russian tea. Let's call it, because I don't say this because I've gotten like videos demonetized just saying that, right? Violent activities, violent influence activities. VIA, violence, influence activities, financial manipulation, sanctions, evasion schemes, and so that serve Russian interests. Okay, so that's the first target. Second package targets propagandists whose lies fuel Russian attacks on Ukraine. That's interesting to go after them. The third applies to members of Russian mafia groups who have significantly helped establish Putin's regime and are still associated with it. We are working on synchronizing Ukrainian sanctions with the sanctions regime of the European Union. New Ukrainian decisions on sanctions are already being prepared. Focus is clear: individuals and legal entities from Russia and those associated with Russia who work for the war and who serve as the backbone for the Russian regime. New decisions by National Security and Defense Council will follow soon. Okay, so let's see how that all plays out. I think they're on the right track, but time will tell. Now, meanwhile, this I saw and I thought, wow, that's interesting. So Christo Grozev, he is an investigative journalist. He was with Spiegel. He was with Bellingcat, and he said this: a mad investigation into the hacking team of Unit 29155 will drop very soon. It has everything you want in a spy thriller: lies, sex, deepfakes, backbiting, and corruption. We will show the faces and the personal secrets of the spies who hack and sabotage the West and Ukraine. So that's something I'm looking forward to. We'll see how that all plays out. Now, this was on Fox News. President Donald Trump says President Putin has changed and doesn't know what happened to him. We're in the middle of talking and he's shooting rockets into Kyiv and other cities. I don't like it at all. Let's hear what Trump had to say.
I'm not happy with what Putin's doing. He's killing a lot of people, and I don't know what the hell happened to Putin. I've known him a long time, always gotten along with him, but he's sending rockets into cities and killing people, and I don't like it at all, okay? We're in the middle of talking, and he's shooting rockets into Kyiv and other cities. I don't like it at all.
President, what do you want to do about that?
I'm surprised. I'm very surprised. We'll see what we're going to do. What am I going to tell you? You're the fake news, aren't you? You're totally fake. All right, any other questions? I don't like what Putin is doing, not even a little bit. He's killing people. And something happened to this guy, and I don't like it.
Okay, so Putin doesn't change his spots, and Trump's surprised, and he doesn't like it. Now, I'm showing you that for two reasons. One, for Trump's response, and then two, this is Jonah Goldberg. You don't know who Jonah Goldberg is more than likely unless you're a political conservative, but Jonah Goldberg is a fairly reasonably well-known conservative voice, kind of like Ben Shapiro. Look, I'm glad that Trump is finally getting annoyed with Putin. Small victories, baby steps, etc. But the idea that Putin has changed is hilariously moronic. So Goldberg gets it. Who is Goldberg, by the way? Jonah Goldberg is editor-in-chief, co-founder of The Dispatch. He spent 2 decades at the National Review. That was the flagship conservative magazine in the United States for many, many years. He's written books like Proud to be Right, and that's kind of... So he's a conservative, not a populist, and another voice that is, coming, saying something positively here about like, hey, Trump, what are you doing? Okay. Meanwhile, Keith Kellogg is saying this is Kyiv. The indiscriminate killing of women and children at night in their homes is a clear violation of the 1977 Geneva Peace Protocols designed to protect innocents. These attacks are shameful. Stop the killing. Ceasefire now. Okay, but Tender put this out and said, call the perpetrator by name, Kellogg. It's Russia. Yeah. So Kellogg, because he's serving the President Trump's administration, is in the same bind that the former ambassador to Ukraine, Richard Brink, is in, the same bind that Rubio is in. And it's an open question whether he's doing more good by being there or more good by being on the outside and being able to speak up. Well, he's on the inside right now. Where would he do more good? Because like call it Russia. It's Russia. Okay. Republican and U.S. Congressman Don Bacon says it's time for honesty. Peace talks are having zero effect on Putin. His goal is to dominate Ukraine, and he won't stop until he realizes he cannot win. That's right. The U.S. and allies must arm Ukraine to the teeth, sanction Russia to the max, and confiscate the $300 billion in overseas Russian assets. Well, the European Union, they're just stepping up and saying, you're not getting any of this back until you rebuild with it, which is if I was the European Union, I'd say that's a very smart claim, because otherwise it's going to fall on Europe to rebuild if Russia gets off the hook without it. Okay. So I talked about this in this morning's video, another massive Russian attack and how Ukraine shot down 85%. I talked about this little bit where this guy had a great analogy, and Jay and Kyiv pointed it out. Indeed, Russia is merely the broken down alcoholic wife beater that just can't let go. And I said, that's a great analogy. And I highlighted it in my video. Somebody else commented to me on X, I use this analogy all the time. A jealous ex-husband who never got over the 1991 divorce. Yeah, that's spot on. Very good, Sir TD. Okay, just imagine what Putin believes about Trump, says Kasparov to this, Darth Putin. Trump says, I believe Russia wants peace. And Russia says, well, they just bombed the snot out of Kyiv with 300 some odd drones and 70 missiles. Yeah, okay. Just imagine what Putin actually believes. It's really a good point. What does Putin believe about Trump where he thinks he can just keep getting away with it and getting away with it and getting away with it? Everybody needs to say, Trump, why are you looking so weak? Like that needs to be the chorus, and not just from the left, from the right. If people on the right were like, Trump, why are you being so weak? I think things would change with him. Well, I would have thought that, but he just can't seem to decouple himself from this relationship that he has in his head with Vladimir Putin. Okay, now this is the cover story. Okay, while Putin's forces attacked Ukraine for 2 nights straight, killing civilians, including children, Trump was busy talking about golf. And he said this I looked it up. I always said golf can be a dangerous sport. My friend got bitten at Bedminster. That's the Bedminster Trump National Golf Course at Bedminster, New Jersey. He wrote, sharing a photo of Witkoff being bitten by a swan. And I actually looked it up because I didn't believe it. I mean, yes, it was in a legitimate source here. It was in the Kyiv Post carrying this. But yeah, Donald Trump, 9 hours ago, what do you say? Tweeted it out, truthed it out it was on Truth Social 9 hours ago. Yeah, and that's Steve Witkoff. All right, just thought that would make your day. All right, that's all I have, my friends. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, and the subscribes. And thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.